Hey guys, it's Friday night at 6:07 and I was planning on doing this a few hours ago, but I just didn't get to it for work purposes. So I wanted to follow up on the post I did today for retainer and contingent searches. So, and this might help individuals who are actually looking for a position as well, because you'll get a better understanding. But for hiring managers, senior management, and talent acquisition in HR, when I said that contingent is watered down and not really at a level that it should be, as far as if you're looking for top talent and you do contingent, you're not finding top talent, right? Because let's be honest, you know, a lot of these companies and will put it out to like 5 or 6 different recruiters. And basically they're looking for the lowest fee and they're looking for the best price. They're not looking for the best quality candidate. They'll tell you that, but they know darn and well that if they do contingent staffing, that they are not looking for top talent. Just to reiterate, what is contingent staffing? Contingent staffing means that if I'm a business owner and I'm hiring for a marketing director, right? So I'm hiring for a marketing director. I reach out to 4 different firms, right? And then those 4 firms or 5 firms send me candidates. Now, I may have negotiated different terms with all 5 of those very differently. One might be at 20%, one might be 22%, one might be high margin and they're at 27%. But I'm working with 4 or 5 different vendors and they're sending me candidates and I haven't paid anything to them. There's no retainer set. They're just sending me candidates. They've got a whiteboard like I do sitting here in my condo. They have a whiteboard with a bunch of positions. If they are coming in, let's say that company says, hey, we're going to only work at 20% or 21%. Guess what? That company is not going to be the first on their list. And I don't care what recruiter tells you you are, you're just not going to be, because you're just not valuing it. And 21% in any state, in any part of the country for a marketing director is ridiculous, right? So that's contingent. There's no skin off the back for the client, nor is there on the company side or the recruiting side that's looking for the position. What's the difference with retainer? Retainer means that somebody engages me and they pay a retainer that goes to the fee at the end of the placement. So if they pay me a $7,500 or a $10,000 fee, or if it's a lower level position, $3,500 or $5,000, depending on what it is, that's applied to the fee at the end, right? So the reason that it's important to do that is if I'm reaching out to a candidate and I let them know this is a retained search, that means it's a real position. Because if you're doing contingent, that means that I'm reaching out to these candidates, other clients are reaching out to these candidates. And so these candidates are getting calls from Robert Half, they're getting called from Adecco, they're getting called from XYZ company. And so all these recruiters are calling these same type of candidates and they're hearing the same thing. That doesn't do well for the company. So if you're the company, let's say you're Bloomin' Brands here in the Tampa Bay area, and you reach out to 5 different firms to help you staff for a position. It does not bode well for you because we don't live in a big community, right? So let's say you say, hey, Kelly, I really ideally want local candidates, and I just want to do contingent. We're not willing to do retainer. Well, guess what? First of all, I would say no thanks. But there's a lot of firms that would definitely work on those positions. But guess what? Now they're reaching to all these people in the Tampa Bay market. And that doesn't look good to the company, meaning Bloomin' Brands, who owns Outback, Carrabba's, Bonefish, and Fleming's, one of our publicly traded companies here in the Tampa Bay area. So if I'm a client, I want to do a retained search with one individual that is going to show up and send me a talent. Now, on the candidate side, what does that even mean to you? Well, if you're talking to an external recruiter, the very first thing you should ask that recruiter, is this a container? Or excuse me, I keep saying container, sorry. Is this contingent or is this a retained search? There is actually such a thing called a container, but I won't get into that. Is this a retainer search or is this contingent? If they say, why are you asking? Because I want to know, do you have an agreement with the company where they have actually, they're not working with anybody else but you. Some recruiters will say it's contingent, but they're only just working with me. I will tell you that's probably just a lie that the company just told them and said, oh, we're only working with you, but really they're working with 2 or 3 other firms or at least one other firm. So the recruiter might think they're telling you the truth, but really that company is behind the scenes working with other people. If it's a retained search, 90%, 95% of the time, they're just working with that one company. So hiring managers, talent acquisition, if you are doing the, hey, I'm just going to spray it out there and just see who I can get, you are not being strategic. It is not smart for your company to constantly, every time you have a position, you're sending out to 4 or 5 different companies to get candidates. It doesn't bode well for your company. I just had this conversation with a very well-known, prominent company in the St. Petersburg area, and I had a long conversation with someone in the accounting and finance side, and I said, your talent acquisition team and human resources team is doing you no justice. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, because every time you have a position, and you guys have had some turnover, you guys might know who I'm talking about, every time you do, that talent acquisition team runs it out to 4, 5, 6 different vendors. And guess what? All of those vendors have 1, 2, 3 people working in that company. And all of them call all these people. So now I'm picking up the phone. I see it's, Robert Half or whomever. I pick up the phone and I say, hello. And they say, yes, I got a position. And I'm like, what company? And they give the name of the company. I'm like, they always have positions. What is going on with that company? Why is there so much turnover? So that doesn't bode well for you as a company, especially if you are going through turnover. The last thing you want to do is do contingent. Do a retainer. Have one person headhunt for you and find you the right position. Working with more recruiters in some instances does not bode well for your company. Okay? So candidates, what's the first thing you're going to do when an external recruiter calls you? Is this a contingent or is this retained search? If it's retained, you should be more interested because it's actually probably this company is working with one recruiter, one headhunter, and it's a real life position. If it's a contingent position, it's probably that company is dating a lot of different recruiters and a lot of different recruiters are out there talking about that position. And I'm not saying it can't be a good position because for years I worked on contingent, but I will tell you the chances are they're working at least with 1 or 2 other positions. Like when I worked with Ferrari Search years ago, I knew who my competition was. It was 2 other major firms. And I knew I had to really show up with the best candidate, but I made sure from the client I knew exactly who my competition was. If they weren't able or willing to tell me, then I probably, not saying I wouldn't take the position, but I would not put that at a high ranking because I wanted to know how good the other 2, who my competitors were. And my other 2 competitors were actually always really good. So that was fun when we could compete against each other. But again, you really want to do retained. And for you, recruiters, if you're out there and you're working for a company and you guys only do contingent, you should really be pushing for retained. Try it, do it. It works so well. I have a client I'm working right now with coaching. I'm doing some entrepreneurial coaching with a staffing firm in Chicago. They have traditionally only done contingent and we are switching to retained search. It's amazing how much money they have brought in on retained searches and how much better their business has elevated. So, hiring managers, you know the story. Candidates, you know what to ask and you know how real it is. And staffing firms and recruiting firms, especially if you're a small business like me, don't work on contingent. in my opinion, I think you're wasting your time, and a lot of companies will waste your time out there. Have an amazing weekend, you guys. I hope that helped. I'm having a glass of wine. I just drank a little bit, so, you know, not very much. But I'm going out for dinner. I got to get ready because I got the hat on because I didn't do my hair. And please drop your comments. Love to know what your feedback is on this. I think it's something that really people don't talk about. I don't hear a lot of chatter on LinkedIn or anywhere else about this. But I really think that this could honestly, whether you are hiring, whether you're looking for a position, or whether you're a recruiting or staffing firm, this is a game changer, people. And if you're not doing it, I strongly suggest it. Thanks. Bye.